Well, guys, how you doing? What a classic of a Premier League match that was here at St James's Park tonight as Newcastle went down 3-2. Lost to Manchester City, inspired by Kevin De Bruyne. And we've just spoken to both Eddie Howe and Pep Guardiola in the press conference afterwards, and I think City's ability to bring on the likes of De Bruyne and Oscar Bob, who would have thought a Norwegian scoring the winner here at St James's Park tonight in the last seconds of the game, and it wasn't Erling Haaland, it was that of the young substitute Oscar Bob. But that second half, that last 20 minutes, inspired by Kevin De Bruyne, Newcastle just had no answer to City in the last 20 minutes. They were all over them, Newcastle hemmed in, but they can feel so unlucky to have left here without anything. I felt that Newcastle deserved a point tonight, and I think with the squad that they had, the 11 players had very, very little on the bench in terms of attacking options. Once again, they pushed Manchester City all the way, and they really, could feel aggrieved not to have got something in the end. I thought Newcastle, particularly in the first half, the way they responded to that Bernardo Silva opener with those unbelievable goals from both Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak, turned this game on their head. It looked like it was going to be one of those famous wins again for Newcastle here, and they were so close to getting something. I think even a draw tonight, a 2-2 draw for Newcastle, would have just felt like a win for them, given the 3 games before this in the Premier League have all been defeats. Of course, that is now 4 defeats in a row. But I just felt as the game went on, City looked like they were going to score, and then as we went into stoppage time, I think they probably would have been, a point wouldn't have been that bad a result. You could see by the celebrations at the end from Manchester City just what that win meant to them. Huge. They're only 2 points behind Liverpool at the top of the table. Newcastle left licking their wounds, but I can't help feel sorry for Eddie Howe, because he's got so little to choose from off that substitutes bench. He was asked in his press conference there just after the game why he didn't make any other subs, and he said, well, look, I don't want to bring on defensive substitutes and for it to make it look like it's a negative substitution. And of course he brought in Lewis Hall, who's essentially a left back or a midfielder in that left wing position, which could be deemed as a little bit negative. But both Anthony Gordon, I thought Lewis Miley were both out on their feet. I thought Isak was knackered at the end as well, and a lot of these players, particularly Gordon, has been flogged to death over the last couple of months due to the injuries, and I can see exactly why you did that. So look, what would you do? Would you bring on Jamal Lascelles? Would you bring on Emil Kraft? What is the point in that stage of the game? He had no options off the bench, and you could see as the game went on he was going to pretty much finish with the same 11, give or take one, and of course Lewis Hall was that man. But listen, I think it's easy to forget those 2 brilliant moments of class from both Isak and Gordon in that first half. I mean, outstanding finishes, 2 individual moments of brilliance, and I think the Newcastle fans, I think you need to remember that as it was so close to being a Premier League, well, it was a Premier League classic, but so close to being one of those games that would go down in history. Very similar actually to the 3-3 draw last season, which is end to end. The game was played in just tiny little area in the middle of the pitch, and one quick pass and transition would just open either team up. It was a joy to watch actually, the match. And I just feel for Newcastle a little bit. That was a completely different performance to the one against Nottingham Forest on Boxing Day, completely different to one against Luton Town. But again, they walk away with nothing. And look, I think we can all sit here and you can criticise individual moments, or you can criticise decisions or whatever, substitutions, but I do think at this stage of the season, the amount of games Newcastle have had, when you look at the substitutes bench, not even having Tino Livramento to come on in an attacking option, when you look at that substitutes bench, it has a negative impact on the players who are starting, because they know they need to last 90 minutes, they know they need to leave everything out there, and perhaps at some stages you're maybe holding something back. Eddie Howe was asked in his press conference there if it was a decision to try and sit in a little bit and protect the lead, and he said no, we wanted to keep pushing, we wanted to keep trying to score in transition like we did in the first half. But sadly, he said the energy just got the better of us, and Manchester City with their substitutions, the likes of Bob and De Bruyne coming on, had that in the second half, and Newcastle didn't. I mean, look, when they're bringing on Kevin De Bruyne for the last 20 minutes, one of the best players in the world, he changes the game, and Newcastle are looking at the bench full of young players or defenders. That was the difference for me tonight. And on another night without De Bruyne there, if the game had been a week or so ago, and if maybe Newcastle had maybe Barnes or Wilson, even just one or two of those injured players, it might have been a different outcome. I just felt that they were out on their feet at the end. I thought physically they were tired, mentally they were tired, and just a killer blow when Bob scored. I mean, what a finish it was from him. That quick shuffle and then finish into the net was sublime. Brilliant pass again from De Bruyne. His finish to actually play the ball through Fabian Schär's legs for that goal right into the bottom corner, where most people are thinking, right, shoot with your left foot here. For him to shoot with his right foot and curl it away from goal into that corner, just you know, he's one of the best players in the world. And I don't think, if you're a Newcastle fan, I don't think you should be leaving here today, you know, devastated. I don't think anyone will be. They put everything into it, and they were so close to coming away with a decent point in the end up. So look, I think you can, I said that on Twitter there, I think you can put your hands up and sometimes admit that a couple of moments of brilliance have been the difference. Foden was outstanding, I thought, tonight. Bob so lively when he came on, of course De Bruyne as well. I thought Rodri and Kovacic, you know, controlled the games at times, and I thought Newcastle did well to hang on in the second half and take it into the last sort of couple of moments in the game. But look, really difficult one to take. They'll go away, they'll lick their wounds. Eddie Howe said he wishes he had another game just next week. But look, it's going to be a difficult run in now for Newcastle. You're looking at it and thinking any kind of European place would be a bonus now, and they just need to try and get the feel-good factor back. Need to try and get some wins and just get this place smiling again, because without doubt everyone's on a bit of a downer after the start to the new year, minus of course the display against Sunderland. But I definitely think there was an extra spring in the step today after the win against Sunderland, and I think if Newcastle play like they did today, with players coming back against most other teams, they should win more than they lose. And look, I just think a really difficult one to take, and sometimes in matches like this you need to just say they had the better class, and that's why Kevin De Bruyne is paid so much money. That is why he's one of the best players in the world. So look, difficult one to take, a lot of heartbreak there tonight, but you know, I think you can see that the players are getting back. The fitness levels coming back. They don't look as tired. I think what's killing them is the options off the bench right now, and the sooner they can get some of those players back, perhaps maybe try and plunder the transfer market for a couple of loans, 1 or 2 loans. He was asked about it again. He said, as it stands, there's nothing happening, but you get the feeling that might change. I would be surprised if you don't see Calvin Phillips or potentially someone else in that midfield position arrive before the end of the transfer window, because you know they only had 3 options in there tonight, and one of them was a 17-year-old in the shape of Lewis Miley. So I think with Joe Linton out for the next 6 weeks, I think that changes things massively, and I think I would be very surprised if Newcastle don't add another midfielder. You know, I think that would be the priority ahead of either a goalkeeper or a forward. So, you know, I would expect one to come in before the end of the window, hopefully for Newcastle alone, because obviously Eddie Howe and Darren Eales have both said there's no money to spend on a permanent signing due to the financial fair play regulations. But I think tonight showed with the substitutes bench that Newcastle need at least one reinforcement just to try and help them over the line in a couple of these games. So yeah, heartbreak for Newcastle. Great game to see. As I say, Premier League classic, and you know, I don't think anyone should be too disappointed with the performance. Obviously gutted, I would imagine, with the scoreline, but sadly these things happen in football. Okay guys, give me your thoughts below, and subscribe if you haven't done, and I will see you guys in the next one after a little break. Cheers now, bye bye.